Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 1211, 1211, Tuesday, August the 4th, 2020. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, so not a whole lot going on in the last 24 hours regarding the Spygate case, but just a couple of things I want to talk about here. So before I get started on a couple things that are in the news, I just want to ask a question to you. Put yourself in Durham's position, and you find yourself sitting there with one of the people you've called to testify in a hearing, or maybe it's a sit down trying to work out a plea agreement with someone. One of the perps is who I'm describing: Strzok, Page, McCabe, Comey, any of these people, or it could be any of the people in the tier below them, or even a tier below them. What would be the first question you would ask? What would be the first question you would ask if you were Durham and McCabe walks in, or Strzok, or any of these people? Let me tell you the first question I would ask. And again, it could be people in Obama's administration, which would mean Samantha Power, Susan Rice, Loretta Lynch, Sally Yates, any of those political appointees, Comey, Brennan, Clapper, or it could be one of the bureaucrats, Strzok, Page, Moyer, Gauhar, any of these people. Baker be a good choice. If it were me and I was Durham and I was sitting there across the table from any of those people, the very first question I would ask them would be, were you working in a coordinated effort with other Obama administration officials to sabotage the Trump campaign in 2016? Were you working in a coordinated effort with other Obama administration officials to sabotage the Trump campaign in 2016? That's the first question I would ask. Why? Because it sets the tone for the rest of the interview and throws them completely off balance. That's one reason. Number two is it's a very difficult question to have to answer, because you don't know what Durham has got. You don't know if someone has copped a plea deal and given Durham some information which implicates you in being part of what they were doing. And working in a coordinated effort with other Obama administration officials to sabotage could mean a lot of things. Why do I use the word sabotage? Because that's the word that Attorney General Barr used when he was being interviewed by Catherine Herridge. He said that it appeared that the Obama administration, these officials, were attempting to sabotage the Trump campaign, and even after he was elected, his presidency. Were you working in a coordinated effort with other Obama administration officials to sabotage the Trump campaign in 2016? Now, if you're any of these people I just mentioned, you did. Yes, you did. So if you're asked that question, you either have to say yes and admit your guilt, or you can say no. But if you're one of the people I just mentioned, you'd be lying. And you don't know what Durham's got. You don't know what someone who's come in and copped a plea deal has already told him. That's a very tough question to answer. And what happens to you if you lie to the FBI? Well, take a look at Michael Flynn, and he didn't even lie to the FBI. They've been dragging him through the mud for 3 years. Cost him millions of dollars in legal fees. Destroying his life, certainly trying to. One lie to the FBI, and Durham could do the same thing to any one of those people that they've been doing to Flynn. The only difference is he would be justified. That's a very tough question to answer for a lot of these people. Were you working in a coordinated effort with other Obama administration officials to sabotage the Trump campaign in 2016? How do you think Brennan or Comey or McCabe would answer that? Or Strzok or Page? Or Rice? Or Yates? Or any of these people? Because they were all doing exactly that. That would be a tricky, tricky question to have to answer. It's the first one I would ask. Now, let's move on to Paul Sperry, who had a very, very busy day tweeting yesterday. I'm not going to go through all of his tweets, but I probably look at his Twitter account every other day, maybe every day, sometimes every day, but usually several times a week I'll look at Paul Sperry Twitters, because sometimes, he goes off on a Twitter rant, quite honestly. And he drops a lot of new information on his Twitter feed, and he usually follows up things with a story. I expected there would be a story today based on his tweet from Friday, but it wasn't there. So I assume within the next couple of days it'll show up on Real Clear Investigations. So we'll keep watching for that. And that was a story about finding out that they're looking into the 702 queries and the about searches and things and such. Oops, move the camera. That ain't good. That's never good. So, anyway, let's go through a couple of these Paul Sperry tweets. The first one, he says, at least 2 media outlets knew the identity of Christopher Steele's PSS, his so-called primary subsource. By January of 2017, they knew his name, Danchenko, and knew he was a clueless DC-based member of the Brookings Institution. Yet they never reported on it. Just like they knew the dossier was paid for by the Right Reverend Clinton for a long time, and never reported on that either. At least 2 media outlets who knew the identity of Steele's PSS by January 2017. Well, that's suggesting then that somebody had leaked that information to them. And I think we know who that would be. I think his name would be Glenn Simpson. At least 2 media outlets knew the identity of Steele's PSS by January 2017. Who do you think the media outlets were? I'm going to take a wild guess. Either the New York Times, the Washington Post, or the Wall Street Journal. That'd be my guess. They knew his name, Danchenko, and they knew he was a clueless DC-based member of the Brookings Institution, yet they never reported on it. Oh yes, there's a lot of things that they knew. All through 2016, 2017, 2018, they certainly knew all about James Wolfe. I know the New York Times did. The New York Times, thanks to Wolfe tweeting that out to his girlfriend, the Carter Page FISA warrant. They knew all about Carter Page, the FISA warrant, all the things mentioned in that, because Wolfe literally tweeted every damn page of that to his girlfriend, Allie Watkins, who then, getting a story like that, immediately gets promoted and taken over to the New York Times. And then they run the story. New York Times had that long before we ever saw it and knew everything that was in it. They knew a lot of things all through 2016. They knew who was pushing the dossier. They knew it was Glenn Simpson, Confusion GPS. They probably knew Steele was bullshit. Yet they went ahead and tried to build him up as this super agent, despite the fact that they wouldn't even run his garbage. That's a crooked bunch of people, man. And I don't know. And I doubt Durham is focused on the media in his investigation. I doubt it. I think he's looking into government officials. But, I'm absolutely convinced that the certain people in the media, and there's quite a few of them, reporters, news organizations were absolutely up to their eyeballs in what was happening in 2016 and beyond. They weren't just media sources getting information. They actively knew what they were doing when they were doing it. They weren't just getting information and writing stories as if they believed any of it. They knew they were working as part of a coordinated effort to sabotage the Trump campaign. And then after Trump wins the election, they double down right along with their friends and continue running complete garbage lies. What they knew were lies. If media organizations are knowingly reporting false information for the purpose of doing harm to the chief executive, including that type of harm being to push him out in a coup, working in coordination with other people who are actively trying to coordinate a coup, that makes them part of the plan. That makes them part of the conspiracy. You know, being a journalist does not give you immunity from prosecution when you're part of a criminal conspiracy. And again, I don't think that Durham is looking at any journalist. I mean, their reputations should be destroyed. But as you will see, when Durham and Barr do whatever they're going to do, don't expect to see the media come out and say, gee, we certainly got it all wrong. We got it all wrong. We were fooled. Fooled us too. So I guess we'll just correct the record. No, that's not going to happen. They're going to double down and carry the new narrative. The new narrative will be, oh, there's Barr and Durham acting like Trump's personal lawyers, going after Trump's political enemies. This is tyranny. Barr needs to be impeached. Durham needs to be thrown in jail. For, whatever. They'll make it up. They are not going to come clean and correct the record on their misreporting. Purposeful misreporting. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. They're going to double down and ride whatever line they're told to ride by the DNC. They'll get their morning conference call from the DNC, and they'll be told what talking points to work. And that's what you'll see from all the major media outlets. It's exactly what they're going to do. It's what they've always done. They're certainly not to come out and say, gee, we got it all wrong. Guess Trump was right. Guess Barr was right. No, it's not going to happen. Even when these people are copying plea agreements, pleading guilty, even when Durham is bringing charges and probably getting convictions, they're still going to run the narrative, which is, it's all rigged. It's all rigged. That's what they're going to say. So prepare yourself for that. There was another Paul Sperry tweet that I was going to talk about, but I didn't write it down. That ain't good. That ain't good. I'll get to it tomorrow. Let's move on to the next thing. Catherine Herridge and her Twitter account. Catherine Herridge tweeting that Ron Johnson's Senate investigators are demanding the State Department produce all records of 2016-2017 meetings and communications between ex-Brookings Institute President Strobe Talbot, Fiona Hill, and other Brookings fellows and Department of State officials, including Newland, Victoria F. E. EU Newland, Kathleen Kavalik, and Jonathan Weiner. Plus, they want all State Department communications with Sidney Blumenthal and Cody Shearer. Yep. Now, whether they'll actually get these documents out of the State Department, I don't know. The State Department has been stonewalling Judicial Watch for years. You think getting information out of the FBI and the DOJ and Gina Haspel is tough. Try getting anything out of the State Department. They're probably worse at log jamming than any of the other groups. And they got a lot to hide. Because remember, the rotten Reverend Clinton pipelined the fraud through the State Department. The State Department was the pipeline into the FBI, the CIA, the Congress, and everywhere else. That was the route it traveled through. That was the pipeline, the State Department. Ron Johnson clearly is onto that. And that tells you he knows where it was coming from. A lot of people are starting to wise up. All records of 2016 and 2017 meetings and communications between ex-Brookings President Strobe Talbot, Fiona Hill, and other Brookings fellows and Department of State officials, including Victoria F. the EU Newland, Kathleen Kvalik, and Jonathan Weiner, plus any State Department communications with Sidney Blumenthal and Cody Shearer, who is, by the way, the brother-in-law of Strobe Talbot. Now, one thing that I would really like to see, which we have never seen or really heard much about, but that we know does exist, is the Cody Shearer dossier that was being passed around at the State Department, given to Christopher Steele by Jonathan Weiner, seen by Victoria Newland, passed back to Steele, passed back to the State Department, and back to the FBI, into the FBI. Now, we should be able to get the Cody Shearer dossier with no problem. He wasn't an FBI agent, so it wouldn't reveal any sources and methods. He's a private citizen. I think we need to see that Cody Shearer dossier, completely unredacted. It's not an official government document, really. It's Cody Shearer's own work. And speaking of Strobe Talbot, I was thinking this the other day. When you look at the circles that Strobe Talbot runs in, it's hard to believe that he doesn't know Halper. Very hard to believe that he does not know Halper. They attend a lot of the same type of think tanks, functions, all these types of meetings, symposiums. The same people who deal in the same type of stuff as Halper, Strobe Talbot, same people. So I would be very surprised if Talbot does not know Halper. And if Talbot does know Halper, and I think there's a very good chance that he does, that would be a very interesting find. Because Strobe Talbot is a very, very close friend, total insider with the Clintons. What if Halper was using Talbot as a middleman to funnel stuff to Steele? There's certain people that just keep coming up over and over again. Halper is one of them. I'd be willing to bet he knows Talbot. They know a lot of the same people. In fact, I think, didn't I find out about 2 weeks ago from just doing some research that Talbot and Halper were actually at a function together? 35 people invited in Italy. Some type of deal in Italy. Yeah, I did. And Talbot and Halper were both on the list, along with Mifsud. Talbot obviously knows Mifsud and Halper. Talbot is one of the Clintons' closest friends. Steele was working for the Clinton campaign. I certainly hope Mr. Durham is able to dig and dig and dig. Because I think he does. He's going to find those connections. This was an inside job, my friends. There were no Russians. Just the fat man, Stefan Halper, and Hillary's cronies, and the people she was paying to create this October surprise, this phony dossier. We also have a tweet from Lee Smith. Lee Smith from yesterday. Of course, he's commenting on this Washington Post story where they're trying to push this idea that Trump and Epstein had some sort of a link. They literally write a story 2 days ago and completely leave out the revelation by 3 witnesses that Slick Willie was seen on Epstein's island by 3 witnesses. They don't mention a single word about it in this Washington Post article. They focus on Trump and his links to Epstein, of which there were none. They even pressed these 3 witnesses hard on Trump. Do you know if Epstein knew Trump? Oh yeah, he said he knew Trump. You ever see him at the island? No. You ever see him on Epstein's plane or whatever? We understand he took a trip on the plane. No, never saw him on the plane. You ever see him with any young girls at Mar-a-Lago? Or no, never really. Don't know anything about that. Don't know anything about Trump. Nothing. They dug and dug and dug and tried to find something on Trump and connect him to Epstein, but they never could. But we have 3 witnesses say they saw Slick Willie there, but yet the Washington Post doesn't say a word about that. The whole article, they focus on Trump, possible links to Epstein. Shows you how dishonest these people are. So we have Lee Smith, who knows a lot of people in Washington, by the way, and he says that the source for the Washington Post about Trump having a link to Epstein, he said it's coming directly from Glenn Simpson. Glenn Simpson, still at work. He should be in jail. That guy should definitely be in jail. Well, my friends, it's not going to be long now. We're going to know something here very, very soon. We've been waiting a very, very, very long time. 1,200 videos. Over 3 years that I've been covering this story. And we're down to the wire. It's crunch time. It's time for Barr and Durham to put up or shut up. And I happen to believe that they're going to put something up, and I don't think the investigation ends there. But I think if they're going to do anything before the election, it will happen before Labor Day. Because Labor Day kicks off the official presidential campaign and the general campaign. And I think the timing at that point would be very bad. I think if Barr and Durham are going to drop anything, it's going to happen before Labor Day, which I believe falls on what? September the 4th or 5th or something like that? 6th, somewhere in there. So, I was looking at the calendar the other day. It's either the 4th, 5th, or 6th because I'm going on vacation that week. Watch them drop everything on the week I go to vacation. They better not. No, I don't think they'll drop it on Labor Day or any time beyond that. I think if they're going to do anything before the election, it's going to happen before Labor Day weekend. I don't think they'll do it after. I think because that's the official launch of the campaign. The debates will be there, assuming there are debates. All the ads start running. People start focusing on that. They're focusing on all sorts of things. I think that the target date, if there is going to be a drop before the election, is going to be before Labor Day. That means at the very end of August, no later than the first couple of days of September. And I don't think they'll do that. I think we'll see it before the end of August. Maybe the last week or last day of August. I think that not that I think Durham will be done with his investigation, but I think that he'll have enough guilty pleas at that point, enough plea deals, and enough of a handle on everything that's going on that they'll be able to come out and give us some sort of a definitive answer as to what they've discovered throughout this point in Durham's investigation. Keep in mind, he's got Jeffrey Jensen on that team, and we know what kind of results that guy gets. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know if you've seen a picture of Jeffrey Jensen. I wouldn't want that guy investigating me. I mean, I'd rather have Durham investigate me than have Jeff Jensen investigate me. I mean, the look on that guy's face is, he's serious. That's a serious dude. And we know that he works fast. He works very fast. And obviously takes it seriously. And the thing I like about what Barr has done, if you look at these U.S. attorneys Bash, Durham. You look at all these guys, they're all outsiders. None of these guys have any history of working in D.C., Main Justice, or anything else. And they're all Republicans, as I understand, and they all come from other areas of the country. So these are definitely not guys who are inside the swamp. And certainly, based on what we've seen from Jeff Jensen, he doesn't mind making DOJ and FBI people look really bad, because he dug out some information nobody else could find, and he gave it to the defense, Michael Flynn, and Barr released it. So Jeffrey Jensen, we know he is a hard charger, and he's on the case, right along with Durham. John Bash now looking into the 702 queries and the unmaskings. 5 or 6 other guys, including one who's an expert in white-collar crime or RICO violations. So, I mean, there's a good team of people there. I think that this investigation will go beyond the election, but I think they'll have enough by the end of August that I expect, if we're going to see something, we're going to see it by then. So we are getting very, very close after waiting a very long time. And again, I don't think we'll see everything. I think that we'll get enough that they'll have some guilty pleas, and enough that they can give us a pretty decent idea of where they are and what they've discovered. And then I think some of the big fish would come after the election, based on the people who are going to sign plea deals and provide evidence which will ensnare the second tier and then eventually to the top tier. That's what I see coming. So yes, we are very close. It could happen any day, and we'll just have to wait and see. But yes, we're going to find out something. The bottom line is we've been waiting for over 3 years. We don't have to wait very much longer to get some sort of an idea whether or not these people are going to be brought to justice or not. We're going to know very soon. So that's one thing we can take some comfort in. We've waited a long time. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow with more TowerGate. See you. Bye.